My husband's betrayal destroyed our relationship, but years later I bond with his daughter. So, here I am, sitting in front of my computer, wondering how I got here. Honestly, if you'd told me 5 years ago that I'd be writing this post, I would have laughed in your face. But here we are, folks. The story of how I lost my marriage, my sanity, and somehow came out the other side stronger than I ever thought I'd be. Grab a coffee or a wine, depending on your mood, and let me take you back to the beginning. I thought I had it all figured out. Really, I did. I met Ryan through a mutual friend at one of those fancy holiday parties I never fit in at. You know the type. Everyone's laughing too loudly, women in dresses that cost more than my monthly rent, and me awkwardly holding a glass of sparkling water because I didn't want to seem like the girl who can't handle her champagne. Anyway, Ryan was charming in that polished way, like he just stepped out of a magazine ad for expensive watches. We hit it off. Before I knew it, we were dating, and within a year, we were married. Oh, and I should mention, Ryan came with a 7-year-old daughter, Emily. At the time, I thought it was cute. I mean, I always wanted kids. And here I was with an instant family, like one of those microwavable meals you don't have to wait too long for. Emily was with us every weekend, and things were fine. Really. It wasn't exactly the seamless fairy tale you see in Hallmark movies, but I figured we'd get there. It was early days. After all, we had time. And then Ryan's ex-wife passed away. Suddenly, Emily wasn't just a weekend guest. She moved in with us full time. Now, before anyone comes for me, I'm not heartless. I felt bad for the kid. Losing her mom at that age must have been brutal. But I'd be lying if I said I was prepared for the full-time stepmom gig. I thought I'd ease into this whole motherhood thing. Maybe have a baby of my own with Ryan in a couple of years and figure it out from there. But, nope. Life had other plans. At first, I threw myself into the role. I bought those cheesy matching aprons and tried to do all the fun stepmom stuff you see on Pinterest. We baked cookies, went to the zoo, all the things that were supposed to bring us closer. But the problem wasn't Emily. It was Ryan. He went from doting husband to full-time father of the year in about 2 seconds flat. Every conversation was about Emily. Every decision revolved around her. And my dreams of having a baby of my own? Well, let's just say Ryan shut that down real quick. He was concerned that another baby would traumatize Emily further. Traumatize her? What about me? Anyway, I tried to brush it off. I told myself it was a rough patch, that once we got used to the new normal, things would go back to the way they were. But then I noticed something else. Ryan wasn't just obsessed with Emily, he was getting a little too chummy with her teacher, Miss Johnson. Now, I'm not one to jump to conclusions, but come on. Miss Johnson was one of those women who wore pencil skirts a little too tight and lipstick a little too red for an elementary school classroom. I tried to convince myself I was being paranoid. Maybe it was my own insecurities bubbling up. Maybe I was projecting because I felt sidelined in my own marriage. But then one night, while I was making dinner, I saw the text. Can't wait for our weekend getaway. I felt my stomach drop. I stood there, staring at Ryan's phone like it was some kind of alien artifact, hoping I'd read it wrong. Weekend getaway? What the hell was this? Of course, I didn't confront him right away. No, I'm not that person. I'm the person who stews in their own paranoia for weeks, collecting little pieces of evidence like a detective in some bad TV drama. I noticed whispered phone calls late at night, emails that mysteriously disappeared from his inbox, and, oh, the kicker, an actual hotel receipt I found in his briefcase. A luxury resort, no less. The kind of place I'd begged him to take me to for years, and he always said we couldn't afford it. Turns out we could afford it, just not for me. By the time I confronted him, I was already numb. Ryan, being the genius he is, tried to play it off like it was a mistake. A mistake? Yeah, buddy, booking a hotel room with Miss Tight Skirt and red lips isn't a mistake. It's a deliberate choice. But, whatever. I didn't need to hear the excuses. I already knew what was coming next. I'm not going to bore you with the details of the divorce. We've all heard the stories. There were lawyers, mediation, paperwork, and more than a few glasses of wine consumed while crying on my best friend's couch. The hardest part wasn't even losing Ryan. It was losing the life I thought I was building, the family I thought I was going to have. But, oh, the universe wasn't done with me yet. Ryan, in all his infinite wisdom, decided to make his departure even more dramatic by telling me that Emily was his priority now. He said it like he was some kind of martyr, sacrificing our marriage for the sake of his daughter. Really? That's what you're going with? Not the fact that you've been sneaking around with Miss Johnson behind my back? Not the fact that you've systematically shut me out of every aspect of our lives for months? Sure, make it about Emily. Fine. Whatever. I let him have his story. I filed for divorce, packed my things, and got out of there as fast as I could. For a while, I felt like a shell of myself. I'd put so much into being Ryan's wife, into being Emily's stepmom, that I had no idea who I was outside of those roles. I had all these dreams of starting a family, of being a mother, and suddenly, I was childless, husbandless, and completely lost. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. You can only go up from there. After the dust settled, I started to find pieces of myself again. I reconnected with my Mexican heritage, which, honestly, I'd kind of let slip away during my marriage. I started cooking again. Real, spicy, soulful food that reminded me of my grandmother's kitchen. I found a support group for women who'd been through toxic relationships, and let me tell you, it was like someone threw me a life raft. These women had been through it all, and hearing their stories gave me the strength to rebuild my life. And then something unexpected happened. Emily, now a teenager and old enough to start seeing things for what they really were, began reaching out to me. At first, it was just little things, a text here, a call there. But soon, we were having real conversations. Turns out, Emily wasn't as oblivious to her dad's flaws as I'd thought. She'd seen the cracks in our family long before I did, and now that she was older, she wanted to understand what had happened. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her the truth, but I also made sure she knew it wasn't her fault. None of this was her fault. I wasn't expecting it, but Emily and I grew close. Closer than we'd ever been when I was her stepmom. There was something about being outside the situation, no longer trying to play the role of the perfect family, that allowed us to actually connect. She started confiding in me about school, friends, and even the pressure she felt from her dad. And I'll tell you what, being there for her, not as her stepmom, but as a woman who genuinely cared about her well-being, felt right. It felt like the motherhood I'd been chasing all along. Ryan, on the other hand, didn't fare so well. His little affair with Miss Johnson blew up in his face, as these things tend to do. Turns out, screwing around with your daughter's teacher doesn't look great when you're a businessman trying to maintain a respectable image. He lost clients, lost his reputation, and eventually lost his business. Karma, my friends, is a powerful thing. But here's the part that still surprises me. I don't feel bitter anymore. I used to think that when Ryan's life inevitably fell apart, I'd feel some kind of vindication, some sweet satisfaction that he was getting what he deserved. But the truth is, I don't need that. I've moved on. I found a new kind of happiness, one that's not tied to whether or not my ex-husband is suffering. In fact, I met someone new. His name's Luis, and he's nothing like Ryan. He's kind, patient, and loves me for who I am, not for who he wants me to be. We've built a life together that's full of love and laughter, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Looking back, I realize I deserved better all along. My story isn't about heartbreak or betrayal anymore. It's about resilience. It's about finding myself when I thought I'd lost everything. And it's about learning that love doesn't have to come in the package you expected. It can surprise you.